Hello.
I'm just trying to get my all my screens. Every time I share screen in Zoom, it goes haywire on me.
Oh,
I've got like three screens.
I've heard people say that that happened. I've never. I mean, oh, you had
Yeah,
three screens in it. I know what you mean.
yeah. I've
It's
got
not on
I've
your
got
main screen. Okay.
yeah. So I think you can see the full value of temporary employment, my
Yes.
name and everything. Okay, good. So just a little background about myself for those of you who don't know. I spent 20 years in the Air Force and then was unemployed for a while, trying to find a job in the Chester, Delaware County area because I grew up actually in Delaware County in Newtown Square. Um, and it took a while for me to find a job. Thanks to Joseph's People, I can trace my success in finding a job directly back to Joseph's People through networking. So I always try to do what I can to help out. But before I went in the Air Force, I graduated from college, and it was right after Desert Storm had pretty much just ended. We were shutting down bases left and right all over the world because the Cold War had ended. And so I was told when I graduated that it would be up to a year before I actually went on active duty. So I had to find something to do, and no one would hire me because I was honest. I said, yeah, I'm going in the Air Force, and I don't know when I'm getting orders. Um, a friend of mine had worked for a temporary agency, and he convinced me to start working for them because I was making $5 an hour, and they promised me $10 an hour. So I worked for a temporary agency for a while, and actually moved into the job that my friend had left. He found employment somewhere else, and then about 2 months after he found employment somewhere else, he lost that job. Uh, and it was a positional. I mean, it wasn't like he got fired or anything. It's just a positional elimination. But because of his temporary work, he came back working to the company that I got assigned to on a permanent basis. So it worked out well for him, and it worked out well for me because I was making twice as much money doing this temporary job as opposed to waiting tables, which I think is what I had been doing. Waiting tables, working for a delivery company. I had, I think, 6 or 7 different jobs in those 10 months, um, including at the temporary agency. I had 2 jobs. One was in an office environment, and the one before that was um, taking tops off of English muffins. And I did that for a week. And then I got moved to the making steak and sandwich line. So that was kind of fun. But then after I retired, I was desperate for money, and through networking, a guy contacted me and said, "Hey, you do HR, and you also have your project management professional certification, and I need someone that can figure out this process that HR is trying to do at Comcast. They're trying to map out what their process is and make it more efficient. With the hope that maybe I could get a permanent job at Comcast. And if it all worked out, then I'd slide into this permanent position. Well, the permanent position didn't take, but I was able to make a lot of networking connections doing this job temporarily. So I highly value temporary employment. I know a lot of people at where I work now at SAP that started out as contractors, on a temporary basis, and then were able to slip into a more permanent role that way. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. So what exactly is a temporary role? It's a job that you get with the company on usually a defined or a short-term period. It can be anything. Someone is on leave for a while, an extended leave, for example. We have people at SAP that go on what they call, I think they call them social sabbaticals, where the people get sent away to help out a underprivileged community in all over the world, or they leave to go on a short-term project and they need somebody to fill in, or they're on maternity leave or paternity leave, because we also have paternity leave now. It can also be, a seasonal job. I know that there's a lot of retail areas that hire people on a seasonal basis. There's a lot of companies out there that work primarily seasonal, and so a lot of their work is a temporary job. And it could be as an independent contractor where you're doing it on your own and come up with a contract, or the company has a direct contract with you, or it could be through a staffing agency. Either one of those is, it's pretty well-defined temporary role. The question is it right for you? Is it something that you ought to look into? And it really depends. If you're looking at changing your career path, it might be a great way to dip your toe in the water to find out if that's something that you want to do. If you have a need for immediate income and you haven't been able to find any other type of work, you might want to try a staffing agency. Granted, if you've been in the workforce for a while and you go into some type of a temporary role, you might not be making the salary that you were making before. But if you have the need for income, it's a great opportunity for you to at least have some type of income. It's great if you have a desire to broaden your resume or gain some experience that you want to be able to put on your resume. Learn something new, do something slightly different. Organizations would love to have employees that have been around a while that have a good work ethic and are trainable. And if you can show that you're trainable and you're willing to work, then it's something that you might want to look into. It's also great if you are trying to get into a specialized field that maybe not a lot of people do, and it'll help you gain that experience. And I've already talked about seasonal work. If it's something that you want to do just for a temporary basis and you don't want to be in the workforce forever, but you feel like going into some type of temporary work. I have my wife's aunt used to work a lot of seasonal work in the retail space, just to get some extra spending money. She had long retired, but she felt like she wanted to keep busy every once in a while, so she'd do a lot of seasonal work in the retail space. So what exactly is an independent contractor? It's a lot of times they're called consultants, they're called freelancers, they're a free agent, they're a contractor. But it's a self-employment of some type of self-employment between you and the other company. There's a lot of pros and cons. One of the pros is you're your own boss. So when I worked on the contract with Comcast, I pretty much set my own hours and worked in my own space. I did quite a bit of work from home. This is long before COVID, so it wasn't typical that people work from home, but I did. I sat at my kitchen table and pulled out my laptop and did my work whenever I felt like it. So kids were in school, I was working. If the kids were in bed and there was nothing on TV, I was working. The good thing was I didn't really have anyone looking over my shoulder to make sure I was getting work done. It was based on when I completed the work that was assigned to me. I did have a deadline. I did have to have things done by a certain time, but it wasn't having someone constantly look over my shoulder and making sure I was getting that work done. You pretty much negotiate on what your salary will be, as well as what the final product will look like and when it's due. And as long as you are getting work done and producing a certain amount of work within a certain amount of time, then you got paid. So I got paid based on what work I did that week, and I would turn things in. And then I would turn in my timesheet, and a week later I'd get paid. It was great, especially since I hadn't gotten paid in like 2 years. Having money coming in was something nice. The good thing is you usually earn a lot more money. So when I was working with my friend on how to negotiate this contract, he helped me out quite a bit. Told me what I should be asking, and when he told me what I should be asking, I nearly fell out of my chair because it was so much money. What I didn't realize was that it's a lot of money, but you're going to be deducting a lot of your own business expenses. So when I had to, I'd have to drive into Philadelphia, pay tolls for the turnpike or for parking that I wasn't expecting to pay. The other thing was that I'd have to pay for my own benefits. I was fortunate that there were a lot of benefits that I had gotten through other means, so I wasn't that worried about it. But you have to pay for your own benefits. You also have to pay your own payroll taxes, and that's something that you take care of. Usually, depending on the size of the contract, something you might want to take care of quarterly, so you don't have to pay fines at the end of the year when you file your taxes. Many times you might be ineligible for state unemployment benefits because you are your own company, and you're not. If you stop working, it's not because the company laid you off. It's because you don't have any contract work anymore, and that can affect your unemployment benefits. Many times you need to carry liability insurance. Sometimes if you're working through an agency, you can get them to pay the liability insurance. That's something you want to look at. If not, the way I figured that I needed to do it was I called my insurance company and I said, hey, I'm opening up my own business as a consultant. I need to find out what I need to do for errors and omissions insurance. That's what it's called. And they got me in touch with a company that takes care of those type of insurance plans that you would need as an independent contractor. And they were great. They explained what the different types of insurance plans were out there, and after talking to me and finding out what I was going to be doing, they told me, you probably need these types of things and this type of insurance. So I was insured if I spilled coffee on, if I was, in the Comcast building and walking along and spilled coffee on someone's computer, then I wouldn't have to pay for it myself. I could just file a claim. If I made a mistake in one of my projects, I could file a claim, if it cost the company a certain amount of money. So I made sure I had that type of liability insurance. Now, this is all tax deductible. It was considered a business expense, so it was taken out of it. I wouldn't have to pay as high taxes after taking all those expenses out. You also have to pay for your own tools and your own equipment. So I had my own laptop. I had to buy some software that I needed to use in order to be able to get the project done, but it wasn't cost prohibitive. So it was something that I had to pay for. One other thing, you may need a federal employee ID number or a state taxpayer ID. Now, I pretty much just use my social security number, but that's something you might want to look into in case that's something that you would need to do, depending on the state laws and the type of contract you're getting into. So temporary to permanent is where you're hired on temporarily, but eventually it turns into a permanent role. It's a great way to get into a company. It's a great way to learn about the industry you're doing, to see if it's something you want to do. A lot of times you're hired with the explicit goal of becoming a long-term employee, and that's something that you express that you want to have, and the company says, hey, we're looking for someone that's temporary to permanent. So they'll say that so that for a couple of reasons. They don't know if the project is going to continue on, and they're going to need somebody to manage it afterwards. They also want to make sure that you're the type of person that they want to have working there. And if not, at least you can get some work done while they try you out. It's usually, like I said, to complete a project, or it could be even a seasonal thing. There's people who work in the retail space or in the travel space or something, and it's a role that's a permanent role where they need people long term, but there's certain periods of time where they need more people. And what can happen is, they hire you on temporarily, and then when the season's over, they realize that they're not going to have enough people to keep permanently. And so some of the people that they hired on temporarily, they say, hey, we really like you. We have some additional openings, but you want to make this a permanent role. In any case, you're going to expose you to people and to possibilities and networking opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise. So with those networking opportunities, you can continue to make connections elsewhere within that company, or at least within that industry, to help you find roles on a more permanent basis. I am still connected to quite a few people that I knew at Comcast. Some of them I haven't talked to in years, but I know I can always reach out to them and say, hey, remember me? I helped map out your benefits process. That I can ask them questions about, if I was working in benefits, I can ask them questions about how Comcast does benefits, and maybe get some ideas from them that way to help my company. Or if I'm ever looking for employment again, I can always network with them to reach out to them and talk to them about different opportunities that are out there. So what are some advantages of temporary roles? Well, it gives you the opportunity to experiment with new careers, something that you've never done before, you've always wanted to try, or maybe it's new in your industry and it's something that not a lot of people have done, and you want to give it a try that way. There are a lot of roles that are considered more entry level that are temporary. So if you are switching career fields and you want to try something out, it's a way to get in at the entry level. And it's, you know, giving you the opportunity that you might not have otherwise. Companies are willing to hire people that have little or no relevant experience in that area because it is a temporary basis. So if it doesn't work out, they know that they can always move on to the next person without having to worry about some of their, you know, the expenses of removing someone from employment at their company when they're hired on permanently. You know, the contract ends and that employee moves on, and you know, maybe they hire somebody else through the firm or the agency without having to worry about a severance package and the additional expenses of paying benefits when people are separated. And like I said before, it allows you to dip your toe into a career that maybe you've never done before, something that you want to try out. I had never really done. I had my project management experience certification, and it was an opportunity to see how project management works in the corporate world. And it was also an opportunity to see how benefits work. I had never done benefits. I knew what benefits were out there, but I'd never seen the process up close and personal in a corporate environment. So it was great for me to dip my toe in that. I'd also never taken the tops off of about 1,000 English muffins an hour. So I learned I never wanted to do that again. But it was, you know, it was fun work both times. I got to see how things worked in a career field that I'd never done before. Some other advantages is you get to try doing something you've never done before. You might get training where it was unavailable or unaffordable before. So you work out, you know, you're going to be on a contract with a company for a certain amount of time, and in order to get this done, you know, they're looking for someone that has A, B, C, and D, and you've only done A, B, and D, and the company has training available for you to learn how to do C, especially if it's something unique to their organization. There could be one possibly to send you to training and get that, which would either cost you a fortune or be unavailable if you worked at another company. It's going to add skills to your resume, which increases your ability to find employment later on down the road. It's the opportunity to really show that you're still willing to learn, that you are open to new and exciting things. And that's something that the companies want. Companies everywhere want people who are trainable. They say a lot of times, you know, you don't hire for skills, you hire for people's ability to learn. And soft skills are things that companies can't teach you quickly. The hard skills are. So if you're, you know, if you're good at public speaking, if you've got some type of leadership ability, if you're organized, all those things are soft skills that companies are looking for. And then the hard skills are, can you program in this language? Can you learn how to use this type of equipment? Can you do something unique that only this company does? And as long as you're able to show that you're willing to learn those skills and that you have the ability to learn them, then they're going to desire you even more. It shows that you're flexible and capable and intelligent enough to learn that stuff. Another advantage is it allows you to look at a specific company and the specific role. It gives you an insight into the responsibilities associated with that particular job. You know, is it something that you want to do for the rest of your life, or at least for a couple of years? Or is it something that maybe once you've tried it out, you decide, nope, that's just not for me. I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to be an English muffin top taker offer. It also gives you an idea of what the company's values are and what their culture is. Is this a company that you want to continue working at? I know that when I first started looking at Comcast, the more I learned about that company, the more I thought, wow, this is a crazy company. I don't think I want to work here permanently. I think it had a lot of the nuances that a lot of companies have, but there was something about the culture that I just wasn't too keen on, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But I still got the ability to learn a lot from them and to make a lot of connections with them. And if I didn't have it, and this is the way someone actually put it to me once, if I didn't have a job, I'd probably accept a job there. But if I already had a job, I wouldn't switch jobs to go work for them. It was one of those types of things that I learned. But it also gave them an opportunity to see how I worked. And if they had liked me, you know, maybe they would have offered me something, but I just don't think that there was a connection there. So, you know, in the end, it all worked out for both of us. I ended up finding employment somewhere else, and they got a project done, probably for a lot less money if they had used somebody else, because I was the kind of person that worked hard. You know, they had estimated I'd be working for them for, I think it was a total of 100 hours, and I only billed them for 70. So worked out for them, but worked out for me. And we both got a bargain out of it. So how exactly do you convert a permanent role into or a temporary role into a permanent role? And the way to improve your chances is just follow some simple guidelines. First of all, be dependable. I don't have to tell you all this. It's pretty basic. You know, whenever you do any type of job, you want to be dependable. You want them to know that you're going to show up on time, you're going to get your work done, you're going to do it to the best of your ability, and hopefully blow their socks off, so that they know that you're a fantastic employee. You also want to try to align with your culture. Now, the good thing about a temporary job is, especially one that's you know, slightly long term, for a couple of months at least, or maybe a year. When you first get in there, you don't really know exactly what the culture is like. But as time goes on, if you can show that you can align to their culture, and it's a lot easier than just sitting down in an interview and them having to try to guess, you know, is this person going to fit in our culture or not? If you can show that you can adapt to their culture, and that's always a plus. Definitely exceed expectations. So if they ask you to do something, do the best you can to make it better than what you think that they expect. And then while you're there, network within that company. Talk to different people, especially if it's you know, if it's a company that you really like, but it's not necessarily the job that you want. Maybe when you're sitting down and eating lunch with some people and talking to different managers and employees and saying, hey, you know, I came into this job expecting to do X, Y, and Z, but I see you've also got this other part of the company, and it's something that I've been very passionate about, something that I'd love to do, something I have experience with before, but I'd like to try it here at this company. You know, maybe that'll lead to a job in that other department or doing that other type of job. So definitely network within the company. I mean, you're there, you're going to learn what the up and coming jobs are that are opening up, and maybe you can get on the inside track there. And definitely let them know that you want to convert. be shameful for you to do a great job and then thinking, well, she only has this as a temporary job. If they don't know that you want to convert and they go on to the next person, they might miss out on having a great person working for them that they would have loved to bring on permanently, simply because the two of you never never made it known that you both wanted to continue the working relationship. It just takes one side to initiate that conversation. That might as well be you. I don't have too much more to talk about with temporary to permanent. I do have some additional resources, and I did send this over to I took the pictures out because they made this huge, but I've got some links in there on estimated tax frequently asked questions, and the IRS has a page for independent contractors. And there's also a LinkedIn course for consultants that I think would be something that might be useful for you. So that's really all that I had, Mike.
That was really very informative, Paul. I think you raised a lot of valuable points. I think that it's really beneficial for both parties. The individual, to get to know the company, get to know what the job entails. If it's outside of if it's a change in career paths, or even if it's what you want to do, it gives you an opportunity to meet the company and get to know the company, get to know who you're going to be who you're going to be working with, who's your manager, and vice versa. The company gets to know you, and they don't have to invest heavily in you before they know that you're the right person. So it makes a lot of sense. On the one hand, when you're looking for a job and you really want a permanent position, it's an extra step in that process, but it does help you, to definitely to learn the company, and so it does provide a lot of value there. But you provided a lot of information, a lot of good information. What do you think about Boo's question about how to pursue an opportunity, when there isn't one there per se,
Um,
or may not be one there?
So you mean trying to get the company to see the benefits of when the benefits of hiring you when there isn't necessarily
A job,
full-time
or
job there?
right,
Um,
or even like for a job that would be non-paying job, where she was talking about getting a like a sabbatical, like an internship.
I do know that a lot of, like, I know where I work, um, we don't hire interns without paying them at all. But that doesn't mean you can't figure something out that's a mutually agreeable relationship. I think it would be something that might have to be worked out with that company themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you can do it, it's great, especially if you're showing them a benefit and they're giving you some type of benefit back. But that would have to be probably carefully figured out in whatever contract you come up with. As more of I'm not exactly sure what you mean by a sabbatical, where you're working temporarily for an organization. I think if it's, I think it really depends on the ability to do it. I think depends on the company. If you can do it, it'd be great. And I'm sure that the company would love to have someone that's got a lot of experience. I don't want to say not have to pay them, but not financially. It wouldn't be a big financial burden. It might be, as long as they could get worked out with their legal department or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can show a company this is what I can do for you, and opens up their eyes. A lot of times, sometimes they don't know that they need you until you show them that they need you. And if you can do that through some type of an arrangement that's even if it's just temporary. Hey, let me show you for a week or a month what I can do. And then they realize,
Right.
wow, we can save a lot of money if we bring her in here and do these new things that we didn't know we weren't doing right, or yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, and um, maybe Boo, you could propose, when you reach out to your contact, you could propose, or request an informational interview where you'd like
Yeah,
to just schedule time to meet with them to discuss their business, and maybe learn a little bit more about how they do their work, and you could discuss with them your uh, your experience in the field, and then propose, maybe you could propose, like Paul said, maybe you could start out unpaid, for a certain period of time, with the hope and expectation that you could become, a paid employee.
or find out what their propose. Just say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about what's new in the industry, and um, if there's something that I could learn from you, something like that. And then just sit down and have a one-on-one meeting with them. And during that one-on-one, if you can find out what their pain points are and explain to them
How you can address them.
how you can help them,
Yeah, that's a good point.
and it could be something small, something minuscule. And then you say, well, I've had experience in that. I can help you out, even if it's just on a temporary basis or on a contract.
It shows that you're um, ambitious, of course,
Yeah.
and then you're willing um, to put yourself out there to make improvements, for in their business, um, to hit the ground running, um, and help them out. But hey, Boo, any other thoughts or comments?
Yeah, what I did in the letter I wrote her, I listed uh, all the different things that I felt I could help assist her with, uh, with the actual, testing, fitting, and all that stuff that I have experience with.
Mhm.
What I didn't do is ask for an informational interview, and I can still add that, you know.
Good.
But I said I thought it'd be beneficial to her also because, like, I could be I could be checking out the hearing aids and stuff like that while she's actually working with another patient and stuff like that. So it will save her time and things like that. Is, so I went through made a list of all those things.
That's good. Yeah, that makes a lot. I think that that's a good way to sell yourself. Really, and then definitely include your resume too, because it would be, like it's almost like a cover letter proposal,
Okay,
and include your resume just so that they can, they have all the information available to them.
okay. Thank you.
Sure. Um, any other questions, Boo, Doris? While we have Paul.
Yeah, I just had a question, comment, I guess. So if you're taking on a temporary job purely because you need the money, you really want a permanent full-time, but you need to fill that gap. I'm sure the question's going to come up in the process of why do you want to take this temporary work? How would you address that? Would you be honest and say, I really need the money? I mean,
Would I be honest? I think it depends on the role. So if it's a job like, taking the tops off of English muffins, I'd probably be honest and say, yeah, I need the money. If it's, I don't think there's anything wrong with being honest. But sometimes being honest might give them more information than what they need.
right.
So you'd always want to try to have at least some amount of honesty. This is something I've never done before that I want to try. It's an area that I'd like to brush up my skills on. You can say all sorts of different things as long as it's, being honest. You don't want to lie to them.
Yeah, right.
Obviously.
Yeah. You just want to stay active and,
Yeah.
you're while you're looking for, your next full-time role. I mean,
Yeah, and you can tell them that I'm looking for something. I'm looking for something while I continue looking for a full-time. There's nothing wrong with saying that, I don't think.
'cause if it's a temporary position, then
Yeah.
it's a temporary position. So
So you can al-
unless it's actually temp to perm, I guess. You
Yeah,
wouldn't want to say,
Yeah, and if it is a temp to perm and they ask, why are you looking at this and not at another permanent position? You can still say, well, right now this is the only thing out there that's matching my skill. That if there are lots of things out there that are matching your skill set, you might not want to say that, but you could say this is an opportunity that's matching my skill sets with the hope that it becomes a permanent role. This seems like a great company and I'd like to try it out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you could figure out.
right.
Makes sense. It depends on the role, obviously. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I guess
Yep.
if you go through staffing agencies, they would be they'd be like screening you. And if you meet their criteria, then you could even always ask them, what if I get asked this question, just to see what they think.
Yeah, and a lot of times they have a relationship with the
Right.
hiring manager, so they'll know what type of answers to give.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
So if you're working with an agency that provides temporary employees, you're still going through an interview process. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You'd be interviewing with them first.
It depends on the role.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, when I was taking the tops off of English muffins, I had to go through an interview process with the company to make sure I could handle it. But then when I got, the longer term, and I worked for that organization for about 2 weeks of the temporary thing. 1 week of taking tops off of English muffins, 1 week of making frozen steak and sandwiches. And then I got hired on by the organization that my friend worked at that he recommended me, was with Texas Eastern Gas Pipeline Company, which is a national company that sells natural gas from Texas all the way up to the East Coast. It's been around since World War II. And I had no interview process with that company. They just brought me right in because of the recommendation I had from my old friend.
Mhm.
And then the contract I had with Comcast was, the friend of mine had developed this contract, and then he got hired on a permanent role and turned the contract over to a third party company, and told them to hire me. And there wasn't an interview process with them either. So it really, but I had an interview to take tops off of it. It's crazy. I mean, it was pretty much just meeting HR and them asking me questions if I could pass
Yeah.
the health and safety standards or something. And then they showed me the ropes and off I went. It was a crazy job.
That is funny.
The giant refrigerated warehouse. You had to wear a winter coat when you went in there. And then I remember the HR lady explained, you got to wear gloves and you got to dip your hands in iodine. And I was like, okay, so do I put the gloves on and then dip my hands in iodine, or do I dip my hands in iodine and then put the gloves on? And I was asking all these people around me, and they all had different answers. And there were people there with purple gloves on, and then there were people that had purple hands inside gloves. So I was like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to do. So I dipped my hand in iodine, put the gloves on, dip my hands in iodine again.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
And
funny.
then, yeah. It's crazy.
Wow.
You had to wear hearing protection because all the different conveyor belts that were going on.
Huh.
I think the shift started at like 4:00 in the morning. And then you were done by like, I don't know, 2:00 in the afternoon or something, 1 or 2. Yeah, it was nuts.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've had my share of those types of jobs too.
Yeah.
But
It's good you wore your ear protection. Because it
Yeah,
really
right,
does
right.
cause,
Yeah.
no, serious, it really causes serious hearing problems.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I guess we're coming to the end of our time then. It was a really interesting presentation though, Paul. I think, I wish more people would have attended. Um, I think it's definitely very common in, for companies to hire temp to perm and so it's good to know the ropes, I think, going into it. So it's probably a presentation worth, keeping, on the shelf, and you can pull it out, in the future. Um, I think it's probably something that could be given again. So, well, everybody, unless there are other questions or comments, I just want to say thank you all for joining. Thank you to Paul for presenting, and see you in a month for the next presentation, which I'm presenting. Um, and but
What are you presenting on?
I think it's actually going to be just an open forum.
An open forum?
Yeah, anything that anybody wants to talk about. We can talk about. Hopefully the new website will be up and running. Maybe I can even give a demo, or could probably still do that. That could be part of it too. So,
Yeah.
But good luck to everybody, and definitely wish you all well, and keep plugging away, and
Okay.
stay active.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was good.